And welcome back, race fans, to another exciting event. If you had just tuned in and just got done watching us with the Dirt Street Stocks here at Volusia Raceway, we are now hitting the track in the Big Block Modifieds. Should be a good, fun race as we go on. Again, Nerd TV bringing you flag-to-flag racing action and coverage for this event. I am Dustin Loxton, also known as Ballistic, and as always, on every Wednesday night, helping me call the shots and call all the action is the legend, the myth, the man, Mr. J. Stan, Jeremy Stanley. How are we doing tonight?
Still doing good. Still really anxious to see how these big blocks can go around Volusia tonight. The pack is not so big as the Dirt Street Stocks were, but don't let that deter you away from the action, because sometimes you don't need a huge field to have a lot of fun on the track. Going
this
through
much
qualifying
is true.
here, yes, absolutely, 100%. Really tight practice times. So I expect all these guys to be really bunched up here for tonight's race.
Yeah, and as you said, not as many drivers. We had 16 drivers in the Dirt Street Stocks. Right now, we are sitting at 9 drivers. So a few shy of what we had before, but again, these drivers in the Big Block Super DIRTcar iRacing Big Block Modified Series always put on a good show, and the racing's always close and clean. So definitely expect a lot of racing action from a lot of these drivers. And for those folks tuning in, a lot of these drivers are going to be very familiar names that you just got done watching in the Dirt Street Stock series. So again, they went out there and they did get some practice and some feedback on what to expect coming into this. Now, granted, the cars are different. But a lot of the racing lines still tend to work and still tend to be the same when they do come to these tracks like that. And Jeremy, as you so well put it, a lot of these tracks are definitely driver preference. If a driver does well in one type of dirt car, they typically perform very well in another form of dirt car as well.
I mean, they really are. Every track requires different technique, and so if one driver can get that technique down, it kind of translates to a lot of the cars, because they all typically drive similar, from dirt car to dirt car. Jordan Gage put on a clinic, so to speak. Even though there's a lot of cautions, his restart game was really on point, and his inside line, which did not expect to be the dominant groove, it was, and it took him to victory lane in the street stocks. And so I was watching his practice laps, and again, even his qualifying too, he ran the bottom. And so I expect Jordan Gage to be up there. He did get P1, it looks like, on the grid by over a tenth and a half almost.
Go ahead and take us through that starting grid.
Yeah, well, since we're on the topic, for sure, we got Jordan Gage, like I said, P1. And on his outside will be Edward Farnes in the 21 machine. Row number 2. P number 3 is Justin Pentakoff, and on his outside will be Jonathan Wiley in 4th. 5th place will be Ron Wiley. Alongside him is Sean Krossick. And then row number 4 will be Dale Farnes, and on his outside is Kevin Robinson. And to round out the field will be Trevor Williams. Now, that is for the overall qualifying, as we're starting the heat race number 1 here, which the field is split in half. Looks like the even numbers will take, or the odd numbers will take heat number 1. So Jordan Gage will lead the pack for tonight's heat number 1.
Yeah, so again, very close times as we work into this. But as we are getting ready to head into heat race, we do want to give a shout out to all the folks and businesses and fine companies that do make this this broadcast happen, and the reason why these drivers do come out to race. So again, we want to thank Dirt Slinger Wraps. They do a lot of the work for a lot of the drivers out here, so a lot of the beautiful paint jobs that you are seeing right now, even though they may not stay like that throughout the duration of this race, are done by Dirt Slinger Wraps. Again, it's the only time that they would really want you to make their paint jobs look dirty. We also want to put a shout out and give a thanks to Hate Racing Unlimited. It's a racing team. Again, the big boss man, the owner, operator of Over the Limits is the one that operates Hate Racing Unlimited. It's a culmination of a real-life race team as well as online streaming, and has transferred over and transgressed to online racing league and has given birth to what is now Over the Limits. I want to Nerditudes, your sole presenter and broadcaster and owner of Nerd TV. You are watching the broadcast as it sits right now. Covers anything gaming and simulation related. Again, Nerditudes. You want a game? It's time to get your nerd on. And Mini Motorsport Doors. Again, novelty doors for recreation display. They do an amazing job. You want that little bit to show your race driver, your simulated race driver, that you appreciate what they do, or you just want to give thanks to sponsors for one of your series. This is the way that you want to do. As we hit green flag racing as they drive off into turn number 1.
Jordan Gage runs the outside to start the race here. Gets a really good run off the top of turn 2. Justin Pentecoff is going to file on in second place, running a little bit lower than, as he actually got contact there by Dale Farnes, really on his rear end there, trying to get around him as quick as possible to advance for the A main. And then back about 10 car lengths, we'll see Ron Wiley and Trevor Williams kind of going at it at this point, but the action is for the top 3.
Yes, the action is for the top 3. Jordan Gage is picking up right where he left off in the dirt street stocks. As he's again out front there. He's got about a car length lead over the 25 at Pentecoff. But again, don't count out any of these drivers. A lot of these drivers, this track is still fresh. These lines and grooves are going to work in. This track is going to slick up. A lot of things are going to change. You're going to see lines and grooves really start to move around. As you can already see that the 0 of Jordan Gage is hitting that low line right where he left off in the last race, going through 3 and 4. 1 and 2, he's right on that midline, whereas the 25 at Pentecoff seems to be hitting that midline through 1 and 2 and sticking more to that high side, mid to high side through 3 and 4. And they're both running very similar, almost identical lap times as we continue on.
Yeah, Pentecoff doesn't really run the street stock, so he's like the new face here to put pressure on Jordan. He has no idea what Jordan did in that first race. He doesn't care. He just wants to get out there and contend for that race win. Giving Jordan a decent run for his money in this heat race, as we got about a lap and a half left. The Jordan Gage, though, just, yeah, like you said, right where he left off, run just solid. He's got a different line entering turn 3 and 4. These cars have more power. They're a little heavier, or not so heavy, rather. So you got to drive them just a little different, but his technique, like I mentioned earlier, is not really as similar to as he was doing in the first race. As he comes through the final corner, turn 4, he will take the checker flag. Pentecoff will resume in second place. Dale Farnes top 3. Trevor Williams looks like will take 4th. And to round out the field for Heat 1, Ron Wiley.
So excellent, good, clean race as we see everybody kind of cycling in and finishing up. Now, Jeremy, we had talked about we weren't expecting that low line to be as strong as what it was late in the dirt street stock race that it was, but it really did come in. I was expecting more that midline to really kind of prevail, but I mean, we seen drivers were making, I mean, depending on their setups, because again, this is an open setup series. We were seeing a lot of drivers really making their cars work for wherever they set them up. And obviously, Jordan Gage really had that one set up on that low line, but we seen drivers in the dirt street stocks like the 8 of Jeremy Vaughn really had it kicking on that high side. So it's going to be interesting to see what these drivers with these race cars can actually do at this track, because these race cars they have higher horsepower and they carry higher speed, generally going in, flying off into turn 3 and turn 1.
Yep, couldn't agree more there. Let me just take real quick through the lineup for race number 2. P1 will be Edward Farnes. Second place on the outside will be Jonathan Wiley. Third place, Sean Krossick. And the fourth place car to round out heat number 2 is Kevin Robinson. One lap to green here. I expect Wiley and Farnes to be side by side this whole event, to be honest. I feel like they're pretty equal overall. I know they want to, start as far up in the field as possible, because it is hard to pass at this track.
It is very hard to pass, but one driver we cannot count out is Sean Krosick as the green flag flies off into turn one as the 21 of Fast Eddie. It does just that and gets a very fast, very clean start on this race here. And the 116 of Jonathan Wiley falls in right behind him. But just as I was saying right before that green flag, we cannot count out the 1S of Sean Krosick. Again, he's not a typical dirt street stock driver, so we don't get a chance really to see what he has to offer coming to this track or any of these tracks. But he's typically one of those that is very fast and usually on point, solidly usually within the top 5. So it's going to be interesting enough to see what he can offer as he's now trying to chase down the 21 of Eddie Farnes.
Jonathan Wiley having some issues. He just bounced off the outside of turn 1 wall. His car is definitely not tuned up to where he needs to be. He's got some major work to do before the green flag of the A main here. But yeah, Krosick, didn't see him in the last race. He's got a really killer entrance on the inside. It's just, if he can somehow find a way to get the outside or the exit of turn 2 and 4 to work for him, I think he'll be right up there with Mr. Fast Eddie. He just has a really low entrance and slides it really far up. He just needs to find some extra grip to make that happen. As we're about halfway through heat number 1 here, Edward looks like about 5 or 6 car length advantage over Sean. And about 10 car lengths after that is Kevin Robinson. Jonathan kind of found his groove here a little bit, just kind of hanging tight, ready for the A main. Still a little slow, looks like, at least in the turn 1 and 2 area. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with this car at the moment.
Yeah, you were talking about Krosick. We're on board with Sean Krosick right now. As you can see, the 21 of Eddie Farnes is leading up there. And 2 distinct lines. Eddie has really pulled into that high side and stayed up there, while Krosick was definitely committed to that low line. And as I had stated that, you see Krosick now jump from the low line up to that mid to high line now, trying to follow suit with where Eddie has been running to see if there isn't any speed. Again, this is the time to really test and kind of test and tune and feel this track out where the speed is at now, so that way you have a better idea when it comes up to race time. Again, the checkered flag has waved, and that 21 does get that top spot in heat number 2. Again, we do have Krosick takes that 3rd spot. So again, overall, a very good, clean race. A lot of drivers, from what I had seen, really working around trying to find what line that they're going to try to find as much speed as what they can in that A main.
Looks like we have a flashback to the street stock race here. Jordan Gage again starting first place. My favorite for tonight's race, anyways. And then alongside will be Edward Farnes, who did finish 3rd, also in that street stock race about a half hour ago. Justin Pentecoff, I'm actually gonna keep my eye out on him. My pick was for Jordan, but Pentecoff's looking pretty darn strong with his 25 machine there. 9 cars going to be rounding out the field here. To take you through that full lineup, it's Jordan Gage and Edward Farnes, P1 and P2. Justin Pentecoff in 3rd place. Jonathan Wiley in 4th. Ron Wiley in 5th. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. I read that wrong. Sean Krosick will be starting 4th. 5th place will be Dale Farnes. 6th place will be Kevin Robinson. 7th is Trevor. 8th is Jonathan Wiley. Ron Wiley rounds out the top, or the back half of the field.
Yeah, so you were talking about that. Your pick for tonight, just after seeing what he had to offer, was going to be that 0 of Jordan Gage. I don't know. I am looking at Fast Eddie right now. We were just talking about before. Since he joined the league last week, he has been in 3 of the broadcaster races here on Nerd TV, and we have interviewed him 3 times. Last week, he was bridesmaid twice, finished 3rd in the dirt street stock here at Volusia, not but just 30 minutes ago. I think he's got something to prove. I think he's going to come out there. But you also stated about watching Pentecoff. I'm going to watch Krosick. Again, he had an amazing race last week, very strong. The guy knows how to run these big block modifieds, and he's searching for that win since we started broadcasting these series. And I think he's very, very close. But I'm not going to count out your two picks of Gage and Pentecoff either. Again, very fast drivers.
Pace truck is off. Green flag is out. Jordan Gage leading the field. Does a little wheel hop there. Getting the turn one. Looks like Eddie's going to give him... Oh, got a wreck already in the back here. 2, 3, maybe even 4 cars around. Kevin Robinson's the only one that really actually spun out. Everybody else started getting... or got straightened out rather quickly. No caution that time. As side-by-side racing here. And actually, Jordan really slow there on the bottom for some reason. Gave up even second place. That puts your pick, Sean Krosick, looking right at the rear bumper there of Farnes.
Yeah, and that's why I was watching both of those drivers, and both of them, being Krosick and Farnes, were really hitting up that high side during the heat races, and it looks like they are picking up right where they left off. We're on board right now with Krosick, because he has got a base full of nothing but dirt tails coming off of Fast Eddie Farnes's car right now. Both of them running identical lines. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how this is going to work out, because if Krosick is going to want to get by Farnes, he's going to have to change his line, which he does. He's on the inside of the 21 as he's coming down, as he did a crossover move. Now he's going to try that low line. Does a slide job.
Crossover.
Wow, crossover coming up. Again, this is the type of race that we expect to see in the big block modified series here over the limit. These drivers leave it out, and I mean they let it hang all the way out.
Gage really impressive all that inside. He was inching up before they got side by side, and when Sean made that move, Gage with a slide job and makes it happen successfully and cleanly. Regains the top spot right where we saw him in that street stock race. Oh, and he gets a little touch by Sean. They keep going straight. Edward almost took advantage of that. Little pinch there from the bottom by Jordan. Allows him to take sole possession of the lead. Edward getting a little loose there on the bottom. Sean's going to make a good hard press for second here entering turn 3. It's given some time for Justin Pentecoff to make some type of moves. He's almost to the bumper now, the second and third place.
Yeah, he is.
Yep,
he's now starting to inch his way in there right now into that camera shot. Trying to get close, as now they've kind of settled down a little bit there. Again, it's the level of skill that these drivers have. I mean, these guys are carrying off into the corner at high speeds side by side like that, as you're watching the 1S of Krosick and the 21 of Eddie Farnes now going side by side for that number 2 spot. But Jeremy, you can't count out your pick back there. That's that red number 25 of Pentecoff is, I mean, he's right there. And again, we're still early in the race. I mean, we still got plenty of time to go. We're only on 11 to 35, so this track is going to change, and these drivers are already going at it. But again, the side-by-side battle is allowing Jordan Gage to really stretch that lead out now, as he's now out in front by about 4 car lengths.
Yeah, and he actually had a really good run off of turn 2. He's even extended it further. He's got a really interesting line here. He's running high in 3 and then diamonds the corner sharply and runs at the very bottom of turn 4. Did not see that at all in practice or even the last race. This is the first I've seen it. Really giving some good, strong speed on the exit of turn 4. Really carrying some momentum. Side by side still, Sean and Dale here, or Eddie rather. They don't want to give it up. And caution is out in the field right there in the 78 on the front stretch. Really slow. We'll have to look back and see what happened there to them.
And, man, that's unfortunate, because the racing was getting fast and furious. Please, Universal, do not sue us for copyright infringement. But, again, it was definitely, getting really good there between the 21 and the 1S. Both drivers did not want to give it up as they were running through there. But we had 2 distinct lines. I mean, both drivers were running 2 separate lines, and there was really no prevailing driver on that, because they were side by side. Honestly, Jeremy, there for probably at least 3-4 solid laps without a true driver prevailing over the other.
And you don't get that in any type of racing. Road racing, that's not existent. Oval racing, I mean, it's kind of there, but with dirt, it's amazing how you can run right up against the wall on either top or bottom and have identical lap times. It's just really cool. Dirt racing is just fun in general. I'm glad to be a part of the broadcast booth. Watch these kind of races, especially with the talent that's on the field tonight and every night for that matter. Yeah, that was a really good battle between Edward and Sean. I'm quite happy to see that, and looking forward to the rest of the race here. About a third of the way is done, 2/3 left, and Jordan got plenty of practice on those restarts in the last race. Shout out to the track crew, by the way. This track was eaten up about a half hour ago, and it was fresh for these cars. They prepped this track real quick for tonight. As you see the Delaware restart, Jordan's going to take him by himself in row 1, and then Edward's going to choose the inside line for row number 2, and Justin on his, Sean on his outside there for P3.
Yeah, again, it's the Delaware restarts. This league here has really made a focal point to all their dirt racing series. It's definitely a nice little thing, as the pace truck is all the way in, barely got a chance to clear pit wall before the zero of Jordan Gage hopped on that loud pedal, slammed that gas pedal down, and hauled some ass for sure. And the 1S and the 21 picking up right where they left off, side by side, and they are 2 by 2 as the 25 and the 27 were side by side there for a while. And you're starting to see Dale Farnes work his way into that near that top 3 running order now.
Yeah, where did he come from? He was playing possum back there for a little bit. Now he's contending here for the even 3rd place alongside his cousin here. Putting some pressure finally. It's kind of cool to see him up here contending now. Jordan did have a really good restart. He had a really good advantage, and actually Sean is starting to pick away slowly at that lead already at this point. He's kind of mimicking Jordan's line, learning from him a little bit, and he's making the best of it.
Yeah, he is. Does look like he is running a very similar line to Jordan Gage. I'm watching the battle of the cousins, so to speak, as the 21 of Eddie and the 27 of Dale Farnes are going side by side, and they have been, as Dale really slings it in there and drifts that up, which allows the 25 of Pentecoff to really close in right on the back bumper of Dale Farnes. A driver that we haven't really talked about, and I don't know if this just isn't one of his good tracks, because again, a lot of these dirt tracks are driver tracks, is the 116 of Jonathan Wiley. We haven't really talked about him all too much. It seems like I think the only thing that we had stated was in his heat race. It almost seemed like his car and the setup was not handling to his liking, as it seemed like he had a few struggles in the heat race, and I don't know if he's actually got those worked out or not for this A-Main.
His car just looks to be a little too loose entry to middle. I think that's where he's struggling the most. He's scrubbing off a lot of speed on that entry, so it's kind of hurting his overall lap time. Quite opposite for Justin Pentecoff, currently sitting at 5th. His car looks really tight, so watch him as the groove starts slicking up a little bit more. I expect his car to actually pick up some speed, which he's getting to the back now of Dale. Looks like he's finally starting to go that speed as I was just mentioning. But top 3 have kind of just pulled away. Sean's still inching his way a little closer each and every lap to Jordan here. And keep my eye on the top 2.
Yeah, he is starting to slowly pull that gap closer, but as you see there, just inching his way into the camera is the 21 of Eddie Farnes after that battle with his cousin kind of slowed both of those drivers up for a few laps. He's now starting to work his way closer to the back end of that 1S of Krosick. Again, to pick up where these two drivers left off earlier in the race and on that last restart. These guys have been really duking it out, and it doesn't look like they're ready to give up just yet.
No, not one bit. They still got 10 laps left. They still got plenty of opportunity. It's dirt racing. Anything can happen, especially with these cars here at this track. Jordan actually started to move up or change his lane a little bit. He's now entering like he did in the street stocks, really low and then throwing it really high on the exit. It's an interesting strategy, but it is working for his liking. He's actually pulled a couple tenths on Sean since I last mentioned his position on the track. Everybody else is pretty well spaced out other than Pentakoff and Dale right now. Actually, they're running really close here as Justin really wants to get into that 4th spot.
Yeah, I'm on board right now with the 21 of Eddie Farnes, and we were talking about the different lines being ran. And you see the 1S of Crossick goes in way low, takes it way high, and then tries to carry that momentum. But it looks like the 21 is keeping it high and then diving it down low on the exit of 2 and 4. And he gets one hell of a run coming off those corners there and really closes it up on Crossick. And if he keeps it up here in the next few laps, he's going to be side by side with Crossick as he almost has a nose on the inside as I was talking about him getting ready to get close.
We took away Sean's entry in turn 3 there. That kind of prohibited him and held him back a little bit, and so Edward was able to get even closer. As he can get really close here in this turn 3 as well. Seems to be his preferred side of the track is on the exit of turn 2. Turn 3 and 4 about pretty equal right there. Yeah, definitely 2 distinct lines for sure. Clearly different, and as again, it's basically identical lap times, which is really impressive to see. But them two kind of racing each other, allowing Jordan to again just a 10th here, a 10th there, just kind of pulling away nice and slowly. Got 3 laps to go, and if he keeps this up, he will be sweeping Volusia this week.
And and you're absolutely right. As the way it's kind of factoring out, as long as we don't have a late race caution like what we did in the dirt street stocks, he's kind of stretched it out enough here to where as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he has enough of a cushion with 2 laps to go to try to get back-to-back wins now that Crossick is really getting a lot of pressure from behind from Eddie Farnes now. Farnes trying to at least do one better than what he finished in the dirt street stocks.
Last lap, giving it all, really changing up his line. He gets to the inside of Sean here, side by side, and almost takes the spot. Really close iRacing. Sean's got a preferred line here off the exit of turn 4. It's side. I think Sean got him.
I think Sean ended up squeaking that one out there again. iRacing goes on center mass. It does not go on nose. It goes based on center mass. And by the looks of it, it seems like that Crossick just edged out the 21 of Eddie Farnes, so he gets another third-place finish. But I tell you what, it doesn't get much closer than that, Jeremy.
Yeah, that was 3/100ths of a second, which on a slower paced race like a dirt race, it's actually a lot closer than what the numbers show. That was really tight there. Pretty fun race overall to watch, Dustin. Jordan, though, and just this is his track. No, he's untouchable. He had a little moment of imperfection, finding himself in third, but he quickly found himself back to first, and he just took off from there.
Yes, he did. As you see the 3 drivers lining up for their victory photo. That's something that happens here at Over the Limit. The top 3 always get their picture taken. You see the 27 driving by, giving his congratulatory little wave as he drives off. Again, some amazing races. Had a caution that was there, but again, very few cautions, a lot of green flag racing. But even though we only had 9 drivers, it did not cut back on the level of racing and the racing action and excitement that we did have. That was, again, some fantastic racing that we did have. Jeremy, I believe, is going to try to get, for the second time tonight, our race winner, Jordan Gage, on the horn.
I do believe I have a hold of Jordan. Jordan, you got a copy of this?
Yeah, I do.
Did you bring the broom out to sweep off all that dirt? You take both races tonight. You actually, how was your car for this race?
Yeah, the car overall was really good again tonight. But yeah, I got shuffled back to third early on, just because of starting on green and whatnot. You guys are all kind of bundled up for the first couple laps, so. Once the top 3 broke away a little bit, I started chipping away at it, and actually Eddie and Sean started battling, so it made it even easier for me to get around. I just had to, let them play their cards and then throw my cards in when need be. So overall, track was fun for most of it. I prefer the black tracks, rubbered down. It's just suits my driving style a little bit more. But yeah, good run to Sean and Eddie, and yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about a little bit about driver preference and tracks and techniques, and it almost looked like that this kind of style of track is definitely more of your style for sure. I was basically saying that during this race. One thing I wanted to ask you too is halfway through that race, you really stretched out turn 3, and then I hadn't seen this in practice at all, but you diamonded it sharply in the middle and got really long the exit of turn 4. You had practiced that before tonight, and why did you make that adjustment?
I practiced it a little bit, but in these cars, you just want to be as straight as you can. And then same like in real life. I mean, driving straight's faster than driving around the corner. So this made my straightaways a little bit longer, and my lap times were coming out, kind of how I wanted them to. So yeah, I just stuck with that line for a little bit. And the feature, it wasn't working as good because there's a little bit of a slick spot throughout the middle of the whole turn 3 and 4. So, but we resulted to just running the slider line in 3 and 4. 1 and 2, we kind of played around with the whole race, and then those last 2 laps, I ran bottom in 1 and 2, and it seemed to work out really good. So, but yeah, we were flirting with the inside wall those last 2 laps, but I mean, I felt comfortable, so I tested a little bit, and now we know a little bit more of what the track's going to do later on.
Which is a great thing. You were talking about knowing what the track was going to do later on. With that, you had such an amazing run in the dirt street stocks. Did any of the information or any of the data that you pulled from there as far as lines that are being ran, the way the track wore down, did that help you and assist you in any way coming to the same track in the big block modifieds?
Kinda, yeah, in the heat. I mean, it was up top, same with the street stocks. The feature was different. The feature for the street stocks was more like the pro lates from last night, bottom dominant and top really wasn't there. But we didn't have a high car count for the big blocks, so, track didn't get ran in as much. But I don't know, my line seemed to work out pretty good. Eddie and Sean could have been catching with something else, but I just kind of strapped the belts down tight and went for it.
Yeah, went for it. You did indeed. The after that restart that you had talked about, where you had fallen back to third, did that worry you at all, knowing the speed that the 21 of Eddie Farnes and the 1S of Sean Krosick, what they had been carrying and the pressure they had been putting on you? Were you worried? One, were you worried about being able to try to regain those spots back? And two, what was going through your mind as you try to get in the mindset to try to tackle that number 1 position again?
Oh yeah, for sure. Whenever you let Eddie and Sean or any fast guy get out front, they're not going to give it to you easy. You're going to have to work for it. But like I said, Sean and Eddie started battling, which ultimately opened the door up for me and made it, way easier than it needed to be to take the lead. But yeah, I just kind of said keep calm. I mean, 35 lap feature, and we only had 1 yellow, I think, or 2. So yeah, I just had to keep my nose clean, and I let them play their cards right so I could play mine. So overall, it was a pretty good night for our Octane Inc. big block.
That it was, and play your cards you did with that winning hand. Again, we want to tell you congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out to? Anybody you'd like to say thanks?
Yeah, again, I got to thank Octane Inc., Gage Farms, Gage Agronomy, Miller Family Trucking, 789 Designs for the wrap, everyone with the league, and you guys for the awesome broadcast.
We appreciate that, and we appreciate you guys for the awesome racing action. Again, that is Jordan Gage, not Justin Gage. Again, I created somebody last week, mashing 2 names together, but not this week here, especially when we keep interviewing you each and every week, and now twice in one day. Again, Jordan Gage is your A-main winner for the Super DIRTcar iRacing Big Block Modified Series here at Volusia. I want to give him congratulations. Let him go and celebrate. Again, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, sounds good. For sure. See you next week.
All right, that was Jordan, and actually this time around we do have our second place finisher of Sean Krosick available. Sean, do you got a copy?
yeah. So it was a fun race.
Yeah, I mean, up in the booth, it was pretty fun too. It was a smaller field for sure compared to the street stocks, but didn't really let down though. Lots of green flag racing, which was good to watch. Your perspective, how was the racing out there tonight?
It was really fun. Jordan had a really fast car. I couldn't catch him. I was trying really hard, and I threw that one big slider early in the race, and I kind of feel like I burnt myself out on that. But I kind of went in there, throwing together a setup, and it worked out pretty good.
For just a quickly thrown setup, that's not too bad at all. You had a lot of good side-by-side racing there with Edward. It seemed like, anyways, from my end here. When you can run side-by-side like that for half the race and not make any contact, that's pretty impressive. How was how the track evolve for you? It looked like you were searching a little bit middle and late of the run. I know you had nothing for Jordan. He's on a whole nother level here, but how the track worked for you on the long run?
It worked out pretty good. I was kind of expecting it to slicken up where it was, so I was kind of getting prepared for it. Yes, I was searching, but I kind of knew where to go. But once I found some speed, I was trying to keep it, and me and Eddie started battling, and it kind of didn't really ruin my chance to chase Jordan down, but it did kind of make it a little more difficult.
No, you say make it a little bit more difficult. Again, we know that you were searching for lines around, but I tell you what, you were running probably one of the craziest lines I've seen going into one like that, but it was working. That allowed you to carry speed off. You had changed your line partway through that race. You were running mid going into turn one, and just letting it run mid off and drifting it up a little bit. And there towards the last few laps, you were slinging it hard into turn one like that. You were diving it deep right against that wall. A lot of the times, watching the replay, I thought you were going to be scraping the wall, and then you would just let it slide all the way up against that outside wall along that curved backstretch. What made you come up and even try that line, hoping that it was going to work?
A lot of other tracks you can do that. I was just running last week with the officials, Knoxville, and I was running that line, and it worked out really well. So I was like, okay, I'll try it, and it worked. So,
yeah, it worked. It did. Coming up to the last few laps, we had talked about numerous times in the broadcast the battle between you and Eddie Farnes in that 21. You guys were putting on a hell of a show out there, running side by side. And then a lot of the times you guys were side by side for laps on end. And lo and behold, you guys did not disappoint when it come to that end either. It was down to thousandths of a second that you guys separated. Coming up to that last lap, knowing you guys were side by side like that, what was going through your mind as you entered turn three, knowing that he was diving it low and you were going to have probably the best run off of that high side, which as far as speed off the corner is the preferred line, in order to beat him? What were you thinking? What was your mindset as you flung it into three?
I was kind of hoping he wouldn't come up on me, which he didn't. I got to give him some respect for that. But, I gave it a Hail Mary out of the corner, and it worked. So
it worked. It did. I tell you what, it's you were one of my picks. Jeremy and I, we made picks before the race started. And actually you and Eddie were my two picks to take that top spot. Not too bad. Out of the top three, my two picks, two of them finished in the top three. So I'll take that one there. Jeremy's pick did get that top spot, but I tell you what, it felt good to watch the two guys that I was picked to take that victory, duke it out the way that you guys did. And I mean, lap after lap, it was a hell of a show up here in the booth, and hopefully it was a hell of a show for everybody out there in TV land watching. Again, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to? Anybody you want to say thanks to?
Speed Shot 51, Vanderpool Racing, all the guys back at Vanderpool Racing, Fritz Motorsports, he does photos, Vanderpool Construction, and then a few of my buddies, and you for putting on the live stream.
Yeah, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you guys showing up each and every week and putting on a heck of a show that you guys do each and every week. It does not, you guys do not cease to amaze both Jeremy and myself anytime we come to a new dirt track, especially in these big block modifieds. So again, we thank you. And again, that is your second place finisher, your runner up. But again, that is a victory nonetheless. That is Sean Krosick and that 1S machine. Again, congratulations on your second place finish, and we look to see you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. That was Sean Krosick, second place finisher. I think we do have Eddie, or that rounds out our top 3. Eddie, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
You and Sean just tearing it up side by side, lap after lap, as we mentioned with Sean there. How was your car performing, and how were you guys able to keep side by side for so long?
Car actually felt really good. I made an adjustment. I knew when you put more fuel in these cars, they tend to loosen up, so I tightened it down a little bit. And first few laps, I hit that outside, and it was working. And I knew as soon as it burned off, it was going to be that diamond type line. So that's where I went to, and they kind of pulled away, but I started reeling Sean back in when he was kind of going to the slick a little bit more out of the turn 1. I was getting him when I was coming down, but no, that was one hell of a race. That was probably one of the funnest races I've been a part of. I mean, it was just the two of us, and I don't think we touched even once tonight. So when you can race like that, it's awesome.
100%. Yeah, I don't recall you guys making any contact as well, which is definitely awesome to see, especially on a tighter track like this, coming off of turn 4 where it gets really tight. Yeah, that diamond line, that's kind of surprised me a little bit. I haven't seen that too often. I did notate that with Jordan a little bit, especially turn 3 and 4. He was really making that front stretch a lot straighter. That seemed to be worked. Do you practice that often, or is that something that you just maybe tried and hope for the best on?
Really, the only track I actually do that here is, or track I do that at is mainly here. In the big blocks, you can't really use a lot of throttle, so if you can hit that grip, you're just gonna launch off the corner. And especially with this high as a gear, I mean, you can only go like 486. I mean, it's still pretty high of a gear, and if you just spin the tires the entire time, you're not going to get anywhere. So it was really throttle control and hitting that grip when you got on the throttle to get the launch off the corner. And like I said, it's one of the main tracks I do it at. There's a few others you can do it at, but this is the biggest one because of the way the track is shaped.
Yeah, and you guys were showing some amazing throttle control out there. I know that on board here, we did a lot of onboards between both you and Krosick, just because the lines you guys were choosing and running and making work was awesome to watch. Let's put it that way. You guys, I know you on a number of times were running different lines and searching for it. Did you feel that if it wasn't for battling with Sean, do you feel that you would have had anything for Jordan Gage up in that top spot?
No, I made that pass early in the race, and then Sean actually pulled the slider on me, and then Jordan followed. And once Jordan got up front, he was gone. So no, I don't think I had anything for Jordan. I was honestly lucky just to get back to Sean there at the end of the race.
Now, you say you were lucky to get back to Sean, but again, that was that line that you and Jeremy were talking about going into 1. You would take it in on that high side and that throttle control. You would, you would cut it down and get probably one of the best runs I've seen off of turn 2 by any of the drivers tonight. And you really gained ground on Sean there in the closing laps. With that being said, you guys had, again, down to thousandths of a second, the closest finish at this track tonight, and probably one of the closest finishes I've seen for position in a while here at Volusia. Do you feel that with the line that you were running, knowing that you did chase him down and you were working your ass off on it, if you would have had a few more laps, do you think that you possibly could have passed Krosick on that one to take back that second place?
Maybe. He went to that bottom on that white flag lap, and I knew he was going to push up, so I actually cut down earlier, and that's the way I got the run on his inside. But the bad thing is if you're on the inside of that going into turn 3, you're not going to get the run you need off the corner. And I knew that going in. I had to stay down at the bottom. I didn't want to push up into him. I didn't want to take the spot like that. And maybe if there was a few more laps, it was we were kind of almost running the same line off of 4, so I was catching him on the straightaway, and I wasn't getting wasn't going to be able to make a pass where I needed to. I wanted to more pass him off of 4, so I had that run off of 2. But it was just like it was fun racing. I'll take a third like that any day. So I'm just happy with it.
And I would be happy with that finish too, because again, you guys put on a clinic of a show. All three of you top 3 finishers, but it was definitely fun watching you and Crossick duke it out lap after lap. And like you had put it, you put it so well that doing it clean, not making any contact, and that's where the excitement comes in, knowing that you guys are slinging it that hard and keeping it that clean. Again, I congratulate you on another top 3 finish for you and your team. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out to? Anybody you'd like to say thanks to?
Yeah, I got to thank, of course, my teammates over at DSM. We've been putting a lot of work in the last few weeks, just getting ready for different races and all that. So, big shout out to them because they're always around and helping. I got to thank my girlfriend. She allows me to do this, or she puts up with me doing this, I think, almost 7 nights a week. So, big shout out to her. Mountain View Plumbing, McCord Trucking, D-Way Pro Wrestling, Dirt Slinger Wraps. For the awesome wraps, and you guys for the broadcast.
Hey, we appreciate that. We appreciate you showing up each and every week, and we appreciate your girlfriend as well. Behind every great driver is an even better woman. That is a true statement. So again, that is your third place finisher, Mr. Fast Eddie Farnes. Again, congratulations on your third place, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Jeremy. So again, that wraps up another exciting racing event here. And again, Volusia being as difficult a track as what it can be. I mean, there's not much to it. It seems like it'd be simple, but the configuration and the shape of this, as you and everybody else had seen, everybody trying to search for grip out there in different lines, that's what makes this track as fun as what it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, when it's such a tight track and when it gets slick and the very top gets, it's pretty flat up there, so it's almost impossible. So the track really thins out. So you have cars starting up against the wall on the bottom, and then right up against that rim, so to speak, on the top. Just in the middle of the track, it's just a big sheet of ice, and so it's always fun to watch the different lines, as we mentioned. You got the diamonding, you have the hugging of the wall, the high, the low entry. It's cars are every which way possible, creating their own lines to find any sort of speed. And strategy to me is one of the most funnest things of watching these kind of races, because you just never know. And plus, watching the broadcast, you get a perspective that the drivers don't have, and you get to learn new things from each driver as they go out there and they try something new. Definitely have my notebook out for Jordan, though. He knows how to run around this track.
That is that's an understatement of the century. Definitely. This is a driver's track for him. He knows how to get around this place, so that's something we're going to have to remember when we visit this place again here at Over the Limit. Again, excellent racing results. We are going to go through our finishing order here. Again, only 9 drivers took the green flag. 9 drivers. Again, not the car count that we would like to have seen, but again, not anything short on the action. So again, Jordan Gage, as we had talked to him first, is your race winner. He pulled out that broom and swept tonight's events, both in the big block and the street stocks. Sean Crossick in second, and Eddie Farnes in third. Again, we had talked to both of those drivers. That close finish within thousandths of a second between those two as they duked it out all race long. Dale Farnes, again, we had talked about him kind of working his way up into that top 5 picture as we were going through on the live feeds. Ended up bringing his number 27 home in fourth. And Justin Pentikoff, your other choice there, Jeremy, did round out the night in that 5th place position.
Yeah, he sure did. Jonathan Wiley takes home 6th place. Kevin Robinson 7th, Ron Wiley 8th, and Trevor Williams rounds out the field there.
Yeah, Trevor just seemed like he was having a hard time with his car. Again, this is a very difficult track sometimes to get a hold of. Jeremy, you've raced on a number of tracks just like I have. Some tracks are your tracks, some tracks are not your tracks. Sometimes you can get a grip on it, you can get a handle on it. Other times it eludes you all the time, and it kind of seemed that way for Trevor Williams and Jonathan Wiley. We had made mention about that. It seemed like he was having a hard time with his setup. It seemed like he was chasing his car right from the get go, right from the heat race all the way through into the A main, and he just missed hitting that and breaking that top 5 finishing order. But overall, again, very good racing with everybody involved.
Yeah, it's a shame too for Wiley. And at least in practice, he was doing pretty decent running up there with the leader's time. So something happened between when the track started slicking up. I guess it wasn't preferred on his setup. Notate to Sean Crossick, even though he finished second, the points leader, Jonathan Atkins, did not make tonight's race. So Sean should resume as your points leader for the Big Block Modified Series after tonight. That should also move Jonathan Wiley up to second place.
Yeah, so a very good points battle going on, and is sure to shake things up. Big surprise that we did not see Atkins here. Again, Atkins was your race winner last week, so it was a surprise that we did not see him here to try to retain and maintain that number 1 position in the points battle. But we'll have to see what next week brings us. But it has come to that time, Jeremy, that we do need to wrap things up. But before we do, we want to give a shout out to everybody that has made this possible, starting with the drivers. We want to thank all the drivers that showed up to participate in tonight's events. And hopefully with the way that they showcase their skills, we will get more drivers to show up next week as well. But again, this show cannot go on if it's not for these skilled drivers that are piloting these machines each and every lap the way that they do. So again, thanks to the drivers. We want to give thanks to Dirt Slinger Wraps. Again, they paint most, at least half of the vehicles that are ran and that you see showcased here on Nerd TV. They do a fantastic job. Again, if you need paint, you want some of the most unique dirt paint out there, Dirt Slinger Wraps is where it's at. We also want to give a shout out to Hate Racing Unlimited. Again, one of the sole backings to Over the Limit. Without Hate Racing Unlimited, Over the Limit would not have been created. We would not be sitting here bringing you flag-to-flag action. We want to give a shout out to Nerditudes as well. Again, Nerditudes, home of Nerd TV. Anything game and simulation related, Nerditudes has you covered. Again, game on. It's time to get your nerd on. And we also want to give a shout out to one of the newest sponsors, but a sponsor nonetheless, Mini Motorsport Doors. These guys, Jeremy, they make some really cool novelty door panels. Is exactly what they are to hang on your wall. They can be customized in any way. Could be customized with real life driver information, your sim driver information, real life sponsor, sim sponsors, you name it. The number you want, it doesn't matter. They're actually a pretty neat little novelty product that they put on there that are actually kind of neat to hang on the wall and to keep around the house. Again, that's Mini Motorsport Doors. That's facebook.com/Mini Motorsport Doors. And I would like to thank not only all the sponsors and the drivers, but I would like to thank my partner in crime here, the legend, the myth, the man, Mr. J. Stan, Jeremy Stanley, for helping me call all the action and being my partner in crime with everything going on here. Jeremy, I appreciate everything that you do and all the commentating and work that's on screen and behind the scenes that you put on with.
Yeah, man, new field for me. It's my actually my third week doing this kind of thing. A little nervous to start, but it's this might be our new thing here. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely a new position for sure. I'm used to being behind the wheel when it comes to broadcasted events. So be on the opposite end, it gives you a whole new perspective and you get to learn a lot, really, talking to the drivers and all that fun stuff. And then we've known each other for so long, and so. If I had to pick one person to do a new position like this, it would definitely be you to be alongside with. It's just, it's a lot of fun doing these things, and I'm looking forward to each and every week from this point forward.
And likewise, the same goes to you as well. Definitely a new venture, but a fun one nonetheless. So for that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for taking the time and spending the time with us as we watch these guys go out there and have some fun and just tear this track a new one. Again, on behalf of everybody involved, all the sponsors, the drivers, everybody at Nerditudes and Nerd TV, on behalf of myself and Jeremy Stanley, we'd like to thank you guys for tuning in, or if you're watching this on a replay, for taking the time to sit down and watch it. Again, we will see you guys next week. Stay classy out there. Stay safe. We'll catch you at the track.
Game on.